this week's episode of Hydrogen in 3. We are delighted to have Josh Carmeichal, Vice President of Hydrogen at Wood, to give us an insight as to what he thinks about the hydrogen industry at the moment and a bit of background. So if we could, to get started, if Josh, if you could just sort of introduce yourself, let us know a little bit about how you got into hydrogen and just a little bit of background on yourself, if that's all right.
Perfect. So thanks for having me. So as you heard, Josh Carmeichal, Vice President of Hydrogen at Wood. My background actually is a long time in renewable energy since the beginning. I started in actually transport in automotive, looking at home energy management systems and batteries and hydrogen fuel cells for both mobility and the energy sector. Then later worked for government for a number of years in Adelaide, and moved after that to a public transport where I worked on then buses. And the whole time I've worked in either electric, batteries, or hydrogen with fuel cells, or a combination of both. And now at Wood, I lead the hydrogen practice globally, leading our colleagues across the business to make a difference in the world for our clients and together with our partners.
Excellent. And obviously, hydrogen's been on the tip of everyone's tongue, for a while now, and you've been working in it for longer. Obviously 2021 was somewhat a breakthrough year for H2 in general. I mean, what role do you see hydrogen, in general playing what role do you see it playing in our goals towards net zero and diversifying the energy mix globally?
I think there's two kind of ways of looking at it. On the one hand, hydrogen is already being used. It's already being made globally on a large scale. We use it in a lot of chemical petrochem processes to make plastics and other things that we use every day in our life. So for those industries that already use it, the question is how to decarbonize and make low carbon hydrogen against how we make it today, which is predominantly from grey coal and gas sources. The other way of looking at it is this new area or new clients that weren't maybe thinking about hydrogen before. So think about aviation, maritime, transport, that have maybe been thinking about alternative fuels, but didn't really understand what the solution would be. And we had batteries, and for some industries, this will be in the medium to short term very successful. But in others that are really hard to electrify or hard to decarbonize, hydrogen will definitely be the solution. So there's a number of different industries that are looking at hydrogen now to either decarbonize what they've got, or going forward, how they can use it in a way that they haven't yet considered before, against also other alternatives such as electrification and batteries.
Yeah, and I think that ties into my next question. Industries that are difficult to decarbonize, hydrogen does often play in well. I mean, what do you see as the main positive that hydrogen brings, and through the utilization of hydrogen, what is the main positive of using it? And the second part of the question, what are the main challenges that hydrogen faces?
I think the biggest opportunity is also its own challenge. So the biggest opportunity for hydrogen is its versatility. So if you look at batteries, for example, they will only ever produce electricity. And this electricity can be for megawatts into a grid. It can be for frequency control for grid services, but it will only ever be electron. Hydrogen, on the other hand, can be electron molecule, can be chemical. So, some clients will be using it as ammonia, for example, NH3 as green ammonia, and that will in turn be used as it's used today for fertilizer, but maybe it's going to be used in maritime, into ships for their fuel, and into aviation, for example. Likewise, the gas network that we use today, methane gas, can be converted into hydrogen. So the gas networks we use for heating in our buildings and homes, or even gas in general, and even eventually in the energy sector, the gas turbines that we use for electricity can potentially also be direct hydrogen or ammonia as well. So that's the opportunity for hydrogen, that it can mean many different things to many people, which in itself is then the issue, because in these examples that I presented, maybe from an end user point of view, so maritime or transport, the application is preferred to be ammonia, but maybe the production is preferred to be another application. So if you have a petrochemical or a chemical process generating hydrogen, and it comes out as a gas, maybe that's better technically to go into a gas network. But the end user prefers it to be ammonia, which requires another step. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest challenges for hydrogen, is to figure out and make the connection between how it's produced and then moved to and used for the end user and clients. And that'll be technical, it'll be economic, and probably also policy and regulation will play a large role in that as well. So the opportunity for hydrogen is there, but also presents the issue of, yeah, but exactly what does it need to be for who and how, and in the best economic technical way? That's still being debated, across the board, particularly with our clients and partners. And I think that's why, to a large extent in Europe and the UK, what you see now is huge hubs and clusters being developed. So you have a multiple source of inputs. So you might have wind and solar coming off the North Sea, but you also might have a chemical process using hydrogen already, combined on the same site, combine them with maybe gas and carbon capture, and then put into a transport network and a gas network and another network, or back into the chemical plant. Because then you really generate the volume and the different applications of hydrogen that's required to be successful to get these projects up.
Yeah, and I think obviously the different regions, like you say, globally are in different stages with how they are utilizing it. A company like yours obviously has had an imprint on the energy sector globally for quite a long time. But what role do you think Wood Group in general, will play in developing the hydrogen value chain in this year and beyond that?
So I think where we're at in the industry is we're still early on in the learning curve. We still don't really understand the electrolyzers, how they should be standardized, in what format in the block, what balance of plant should, be delivered or not delivered to site. And we've got a capacity issue around electrolyzers as well. And then we've got a financial issue around how do we value hydrogen? How do we make a commercial model that makes sense while there's not a firm offtake? With wind and solar, it's easier because you know that there's always going to be a market. It might be merchant, it might be PPA, but there will always be an electricity market. Whereas with hydrogen, for now, there's still maybe not a developed demand market yet. And so how do we finance these projects, let alone how to deliver them? How do we finance and deliver them in the speed that's required while the demand side hasn't yet sorted itself out? And I think that, for Wood, that's one of the biggest challenges where we want to play in the future. For now, we're helping clients try to get these projects to some form of shape around, early phase, engineering design work to an investment stage. But to get to that stage, you need also manufacturing capability. So you need to work with the electrolyzers, but you also need to figure out your operations, how it's going to work against the offtake. So you need to figure out your operation side of things. So what we'd love to do in the future and starting to work with clients is much more through the value chain from end to end as a genuine partnership to deliver every phase of that project, including the delivery of it and the operation of it afterwards, in collaboration with the different suppliers and partners that are going to be required in the project. And I think that's key going forward, where maybe in other industries an arm's length relationship with suppliers is probably at a mature phase. You can drive down cost by negotiating solar panels or blades differently on a wind turbine. We're not there yet with the hydrogen industry. We need everyone working together the coming years to make these projects economic and technically viable. And so the arm's length relationship doesn't work. So we're looking for partnerships with clients and partners, including governments and universities, to help us figure all of this out.
Yeah, and I think we are seeing more partnerships than ever, even over the last few months within the hydrogen sector. You look at joint ventures like, for instance, Plug Power and Renault with Hyvia, and you look at many other companies who obviously don't have that full solution, so they do need to link up, but hopefully we see that more. Well, I imagine we will see that a lot this year. So
yeah,
I wish you all the best, Josh, with Wood, and I wish Wood all the best. It'll be interesting to see where you sort of place yourselves within the hydrogen chain over the next couple of years. And yeah, thank you very much for talking to us today. Much appreciated.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me, and we're here to help in any way possible. So we look forward to collaboration.